What's up, guys? Hi, and welcome to Uncle Scott's Kitchen. Today we're going to take a look at this guy. This is an Emile Henry, or Henry, depending on how much you like poorly pronounced French, Tagine. And if you're unfamiliar with the Tagine, as I was until recently, been doing some research on these things, been interested in getting one. These are essentially slow cookers, kind of like a Dutch oven, but these were developed in the North Africa region, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Mediterranean, and possibly Middle East. And they've been around for centuries. As a matter of fact, they were mentioned in some Arabic literature from the 9th century. So these things have been around a long time. And this one is an earthenware or flame ceramic for the Emile Henry Tagine pot. And you got your base here. You put your food in here. Then you have this conical lid. And when you do slow cooking, moisture condenses under this lid. It keeps the moisture in your food, and the moisture kind of drips down and base your food. Here I want to give a quick shout out to Emile Henry for keeping their production of this flame ceramic in France. This thing is made in France. Emile Henry is a kind of a classic French brand. Some of the other French brands, Le Creuset, Stowe, they make their enamel cast iron in France, but some of their kind of earthenware, bakeware, they make in China these days. Emile Henry still makes theirs in France, so I really do like that. The manual says they can be used on darn near any heat source, especially they can be used over open flame, they can go in the oven. Now, in a certain sense, a tagine is similar to something like a paella pan, where paella is the name of the pan and also the finished dish. With tagines, it's very similar. Tagine is the cooking vessel, but you also see recipes called something like chicken Moroccan tagine. So it's also the name of the finished dish as well. So that's pretty interesting there. Now this is earthenware, it's flame ceramic. If I were to drop this, it would probably shatter. So you got to be fairly careful with these things. Now if you've been around the channel for a while, you probably saw me review this Emile Henry flame ceramic bread baker. The same material as the tagine is made out of. But one key difference is the base here has little handles on there, so it makes it easier to get in and out of the oven. The tagine does not have any handles. It does have a lip, and if I'm worried about anything, it's just moving a hot tagine in and out of the oven without handles. We'll see how that goes here in a minute though. So as luck and or fate would have it, today there's about 10 inches of snow on the ground, and today's high is in the low 20s outside. So I think some slow cooked, savory food is going to fit the bill really well. Let's jump in and do a little bit of cooking. The only thing you got to do to get this tagine ready to cook, the directions say to season it with milk, believe it or not. We're going to add some milk to this thing, fill it up halfway according to the directions, and boil that milk. Now, why boil the milk? What does it do? I don't know. The directions don't say. But after about 10 years of marriage these days, I have learned not to ask why and to be quiet and do what I'm told. Okay, now let's make some beef. I've got a recipe here from the Emile Henry website. I'll put a link to it below. I'm going to make a couple of additions and one important substitution. So let's run through that now. This is a recipe for short ribs with potatoes and onions. The main thing I'm doing that is different here is instead of short ribs, which are very expensive, I'm going to use our good friend here, Chuck brown roast. Say your prayers, buddy. I'm going to get to work on him here in just a second. So now let's run through some of the ingredients. Okay, so we've got ground ginger, soy sauce, dark brown sugar, hoisin sauce, lemon juice, fresh squeezed, almond oil, sriracha, some chili powder, some chili flakes or red pepper, black pepper. So I've got a pretty big onion here. I've got some potatoes. I've also got some chickpeas, some carrots, and our good friend Chuck. So let's go ahead and make our mixture here. All right, now I'm just going to mix this really well. I'm going to let that rest for a few minutes while I get to work on the other veggies. Now, I like to use a separate cutting board and knife, taking off anything touching the dirt. I'm going with fairly large pieces here, as this is going to be stewed for quite a long time. Now let's get to work on old Chuck here. Big piece of fat there. I'm going to take off that. Start on this end. Got some nice pieces here. We've got our sauce mixture. Give that one more quick stir. And what we're going to do is add Chuck here. And our onions. Make sure everything is really well coated. We're going to add this to our tagine. And in the instruction booklet, it talks about adding these and making them harmonious. So we are harmoniously adding the beef. Now what I want to do is cover this, and our tagine is ready to go into the oven. Now another thing I learned about tagines is to adjust your oven rack. The tagine is fairly tall, so I had to take out the middle racks, and I'm actually going to put this on the bottom rack. Okay, so it has been 3 hours. Let's get our tagine out and add our potatoes, carrots, and chickpeas. The one thing you have to be careful of, according to the directions, is to not set this thing on anything cold when it comes out of the oven, when it's hot. If the tagine is hot, don't set it on anything cold. Whew! Looking pretty doggone good. Now the directions say you can take the tagine out of the freezer or the refrigerator and heat it directly, and that's okay. You just can't do the reverse. You can't take it out of the oven and put it on something cold. Chickpeas in, and let me find something to give this thing a good stir here. Smells really good. Let's get everything done in the liquid. Be careful that you remember that the lid is very hot. And I'll stir that again after 30 minutes, and then we should only have an hour and a half to go. But looking good and smelling good so far. Be very careful, no handles. Back into the old oven. Okay, so that is 5 hours. Let's go ahead and get this guy out. Ooh-wee. That looks really good. That beef is super tender and super flavorful. A hint of spice in there with all that sriracha. Absolutely delicious. I'm really impressed with the beef, Moroccan beef stew coming out of the Emile Henry Tagine. Now let's make some Moroccan chicken tagine with olives and preserved lemons. I'll put a link to the recipe I'm mostly following below, but there are many similar versions of this recipe on the internet. Starting with the chicken, if you're wondering about capacity, here I'm using 2 packs of Costco boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And similarly to the beef, we're going to mix up some herbs and spices and coat the chicken before we add everything to the tagine. For those, I've removed and chopped the pulp from preserved lemons and reserved the peels for later. Also chopped up some coriander / cilantro and some flat parsley. Added some cumin, saffron, paprika, pepper, ginger, and olive oil. Mixed that really well and then gave my chicken a good rub, so to speak. Now we'll add the olives and lemon peel later, and note that there is no added salt in this recipe. The lemons and olives are both very salty, and I've even rinsed them really well before using them. We can adjust the salt near the end of cooking. Next, I chopped 2 onions and added those to the tagine. Then I added the coated chicken, and note that the pan looks a little crowded and there is no additional liquid. Is that going to be a problem? We'll find out here in just a moment. Now I'm going to start the tagine on medium-low on my biggest gas burner, and once the food starts releasing its moisture, I'm going to cover it and let it cook for at least an hour or so. Okay, so I've started the tagine here on this bigger burner. This is a high output burner. The manual says you probably want to use your biggest burner or a large burner for the tagine, but I thought things were cooking a little bit fast, especially when it was uncovered, and I was worried when I put the cover on that it might be a little too hot in there. So what I did was put the diffuser on this back burner. It's a little bit smaller burner, covered the tagine and moved it back there. I can still hear it bubbling, but not quite as fast as it was on the front burner. So I'm going to check it. So let's take a quick peek inside here and see how it's cooking. I think that looks pretty good. I don't want to lose all my steam. Get the lid back on there. So actually I think that looks like it's cooking nicely, a nice simmer in there, or braising, I guess you could call it. So I got the lid back on there, don't want to lose too much steam. I'm going to let that go another 30, 45 minutes. I'll tempt the chicken. I can't imagine that it's not done, but also to make sure it's fairly tender. Then we're going to add olives, which I've cut up in the meantime, the lemon rind, and some fresh lemon juice, which I forgot to mention in the ingredients part. And I had the garlic out on the counter, and I just forgot to add the garlic. In my defense, I do drink a lot. Okay, it's a well-oiled machine around here. I forgot to push the record button, but what I did was remove the lid, add those lemons, olives, and lemon juice, and we're going to further cook this another 15 minutes without the lid to let that sauce reduce down. All right, I think we are ready. The sauce is really reduced down. The chicken, got the olives on here and the lemons. May not be the most colorful dish in a photograph, but let's see how it tastes. Chicken really tender. That would be the wife calling on cue. Hi.
Hey.
How's it going, babe? Okay. Okay. Love you. Bye. Where was I? Okay. Got the olives, got the lemon on there. May not be the most colorful dish in the world, but let's see how it tastes. The chicken is really tender. I don't know why I'm surprised, but that is surprisingly good. A little more mellow than the beef we cooked earlier, but man, is that good. The chicken cuts easily with a fork. The olives are not too powerful. The lemon and all the spices are a little more subtle, but it is really good. So it was easy to use right out of the box, not a big learning curve. I think it's a very good looking piece of cookware, seems to be very high quality, and most importantly, produce some absolutely delicious food. I think it's fun to get one of these and learn some new recipes. I give the Emile Henry Tagine a thumbs up. If you decide you're gonna get one of these for yourself and you're gonna buy one anyway, it's a nice thing to do to use the affiliate shopping links below. A little shameless plug there. It does help offset the cost of buying some of this equipment. Make sure you leave your questions, comments, and feedback below. Also, I am still learning Tagine. I feel like I've taken the first few steps on a Tagine journey. If you are an expert or you have some recipes or techniques, I am all ears. Make sure you post those below. Also, your questions, comments, and feedback. Love to check that out, and I will respond to as many as possible. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time on Uncle Scott's Kitchen.